Analog sound and hybrid mixing is still an important part of commercial music, despite what some might say. Hi, I'm Darren, and I'm going to show you how I use the Audio Hunt to extend my own hybrid studio and find sounds and tone colours I just don't have in my current setup. As a musician or producer, the world is not just your oyster, it's your studio. And the Audio Hunt offers you easy access to the most desirable analog gear, all at the click of a button. So, if you're curious as to how analog can contribute to or even improve your own mixes, then this video series will answer some of your curiosity. I'm going to share with you a mix I've recently been working on and demonstrate how analog and the Audio Hunt comes into my own personal workflow. Jason FICHERA, a talented and successful singer-songwriter, recorded just for a while when in Las Vegas on a US tour. The vocals and guitars were recorded in a hotel bathroom, believe it or not, capturing the perfect space and vibe in that moment in time. Back in Australia, the drums, bass, more guitars, keys and BVs were recorded by session musicians, and then the mix found its way to me here in the UK. So let's check out the track, and then I'll go through some of the mix elements for you.
Days go by and not one word from you, like a silent stare. You bring me to my knees and pray for mercy from all my eternal sins. If there's nowhere to be, let's run away to that place where we can spend all our days. Through all these twists and bends and winding roads.
Okay, so let's start with the drums, where my challenge was to create a warm, live, dynamic sound. Here's how I went about that. Starting with the kick, I wanted both low-end thump combined with bite and punch to cut through the mix. There's two kick tracks. The first is part of the drum bus group, and the second is the kick duplicated and processed via outboard. First off, I focused on the low end of the kick, which is part of the drum group. A subtle lift around 60 Hz from Waves' R-Bass and UAD's Helios 69 achieved a warm low-end thump. Finally, the Kramer Pi compressor provides some life to the kick pattern by grabbing and squeezing it gently. Let's A/B the processing. Okay, so that's all right, but I wanted more from the kick, more presence. To do this, I use my own personal outboard technique. What I do is duplicate the track, place it outside the drum bus group so it doesn't get any of the outboard processing, which I'll come to in a minute. I then send it to the Chandler Little Devil EQ and compressor and process the duplicated track. Let's add the second kick and see what it does to the sound. Well, as you can hear, it dramatically changes the kick drum sound, and the 1 kHz boost from the Chandler EQ helps it to cut through the mix. The compressor has a faster takt time and slow release, which allows me to control the kick sound and keep it forward in the mix. In your own productions, you could do exactly the same without going to outboard by duplicating a track and treating it in a different way to the original. But I really like the sound of the Chandler 500 series. They always add colour to my mixes. To keep the kit lively, I used as little gating as possible. The Bit Crusher, my favourite Logic plugin, really helped fatten the room mics Try the bit crusher yourself. A gain of around 3 to 6 dBs can make any part bigger and fatter. It's a great Logic plugin. For the snare, I wanted a slightly thicker drum sound, and Logic's drum replacement helped me achieve that. In this case, I used Drummer to add more low-end weight to the snare part and compressed it pretty heavily with a long release to really hold it in place. For the drum bus processing, I wanted to add some analog compression, so I went out to my two Marg EQ4s that run into the Phoenix valve compressor by Thermionic Culture. It sounds amazing on drums. To get the correct EQ drum sound, I boosted the lows, scooped out the low mids and pushed the highs to add a bit of brightness and air. It's kind of like a smiley backs curve. For the compressor, it's really just keeping everything under control. Compressing the kit allows me to squeeze it, but the engaged sidechain keeps the lows intact. This brings up the level so that I can tuck it in just behind the vocals, whilst retaining drum punch. Going out of the box provides real valve warmth. The more you drive the gain, the more warmth or distortion you get from this device. So let's A/B all the analog processing from the kick and bus compressor. The bass was recorded really well and the performance is nice and even. It's a great starting point, but I wanted to add that true, authentic, top of the line sound that this bass deserves, and the Audio Hunt allowed me to do that. I decided that the classic URI 1176 Rev F, which is amazing on bass, would be a great fit. The 1176 is a FET compressor, which basically means it's very fast, so you'd think it wouldn't work on bass, but the saturation imparted from the FET transistors works really well. It's a classic on bass. So at this point, I turned to the Audio Hunt to find the compressor I wanted for the bass guitar. All I did was log in, browse the site, find the compressor I wanted, and made a booking. It was as simple as that. I explained how I wanted the track to be processed, in this case using the classic 1176 bass trick. You can try this out for yourself on an emulation. Set the attack and release to around 7, a ratio of 4:1, and around 7 dBs of gain reduction, and you'll pin the bass in place. I guarantee an amazing bass sound. In my case, I knew how I wanted the bass to be processed. However, if you're not sure, you can try out the processing first on an emulation plugin, or even just chat and talk to the gear owner on the Audio Hunt. Okay, so once the newly compressed bass track was back with me, I simply dropped the track into the mix and processed the part further. So let's A/B the original with the Audio Hunt's vintage URI 1176 Rev F. When you listen to the two parts simply A-B'd, there's not really a great deal of difference between the plugin and the compressor. For me, the magic happens when it's in with the entire mix. To my ears, on my monitors, it's more glued to the kick and it sits much better in the track. It's definitely interacting with the entire mix in a different way to the plugin, and that's exactly what I want. Let's hear it in context. But I'm still not done. There's one last move. I duplicated the track, instantiated a pitch shift plugin from Waves, dropped the part an octave, added some distortion and rolled off the very low end. This all runs through the Harrison 32 EQ by Great River and the amazing sounding Opto compressor, the Little Brute, to add some final leveling. Let's check out the drums, bass and vocals together and see how it all sounds.
Through all these twists and bends and winding roads, well, how my life could mend like nobody would know. We can all pretend just for a while, just for a while, just for a while.
In the next video, we're going to talk about how I use the audio hunt to create a glorious vocal sound and how analog bus processing helped to add the final polish to the mix. Please do check out more of Jason's music. He's a great guy and a very talented artist. Check out the audio hunt for yourself, where you'll discover a world of analog that you can add to your own workflow. Finally, if you're interested in learning more about Logic Pro X, you can check out my site at masteringinlogic.com, where my members learn all about the secret art of mastering using Logic Pro X and its plugins. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to check out part 2 coming soon.